Thanks for being with us on Your Retirement TV. I'm Brad Johansen with Sam Duell and Andi 𝗥𝗲𝗟 with Duell Financial Strategies. Numbers matter. I don't know whether 65 is a round number. It's a good number. It's a qualifying number. Do you guys realize that you have put together 65 television programs?
No.
To be able to share with people on, is it mind-boggling at this point?
Yeah, it doesn't seem possible. It doesn't seem possible to me that we've had that many shows that we've done.
Well, it's nice to be a part of it with you guys. And so with that, if we're going to do numbers and stop and go and moving forward, how about we do a little red light, green light today?
Yeah, we could have the viewers grab a pen and a piece of paper and join in on this.
All right, grab a pen, piece of paper, join in on this to see what your retirement readiness is at this point. This would be the challenge. Do you think that you're going to be able to retire on time? It's a general question. It's probably one of the first questions that comes with people coming into the office. What's the normal answer for people coming in on that? Are they red light or green light on that?
I would say most are green, by and large. We do not, thank God we live in Wisconsin and people are not crazy.
And they're savers.
And they're savers.
And they have realistic expectations.
Yeah, it's really, honestly, a refreshing conversation all the time because, by and large, people have common sense and they've been really good savers, and they're fearful that they're going to outlive their money as opposed to dying. But by and large, most people are going to be just
all
fine.
right, that's a good green light. Have you calculated how much your income is going to be? How much will you need per month in retirement? Now, come on, Sam, don't tell me that people are standard in this. I know those in Wisconsin are brilliant and they've figured this out. A lot of people have calculated how much they need per month?
No, that one's probably more of a yellow maybe or a red no. It's not an exercise that people think about because as we get past the raising the kids years and we do all of that sort of stuff, the inflow and the need for inflow of cash becomes much more static. It becomes much more ordinary at that point in time. So I know a lot of you haven't looked at or even thought about a budget for the last 20 years. But we do need to start thinking about it as we go into retirement. And not, Brad, in terms of, oh, this is my budget, this is all that I have to spend, but in terms of saying, what are my parameters going to be? How much do I really need to support my retirement lifestyle? So we urge people before they come in for a visit the website. Go to duellstrategies.com. There's a budget worksheet there, but you're not doing a budget. You're just doing expenses. We just need to know what are your expenses because you have two different kinds of expenses in retirement. You've got discretionary expenses. That would be, that's as we often label it, that'd be your toys and candy account. What do I want to do? But then you also have your non-discretionary expenses, which are necessary. Real estate taxes,
food,
groceries,
clothing, shelter,
food, clothing, and shelter, things like that, pretty much you got to have that money coming in
Fairly
order to
significant.
afford it. Yeah. So if you can start thinking about your income in retirement in terms of that, how much do I have to have versus how much would I like to have? Well, then there's a place where we meet in the middle there and say, okay, based upon that, your income above and beyond your Social Security, your pensions needs to be X. But I would say most people, because it's not a part of what they do, that's for the vast majority of people, the money still goes longer than the month does. So most people are a yellow or a red on that one.
Okay.
But we'll help you get to a green.
We're doing our retirement red light challenge, and we want you to play along because playing along will actually get you prepared for where you want to be. You preach on taxes a lot, so our third question would be, do you know the most efficient tax order to access your retirement accounts? What's the usual response there?
That one's usually a hard red. People
yeah.
don't know when to access them. And the reason I think for that a lot is, number one, they haven't been educated on what the tax consequences are. How are these different pots of money that I have taxed? There's a complete chapter on it in the book that we did. But most people don't know. They don't know the correct order to do that in. And, in complete transparency, there's not necessarily a formula. We don't know the order that you're going to need to do it in either, because that's going to be flexible. It's going to be malleable. It's going to depend upon, okay, what's happening this year? What sort of expenses do we have?
Are you
all
62 trying to pay for health care, need to take it out of a Roth perhaps? Like, there's a plethora of different options that...
Okay.
But
I
there
mean,
is
again,
a definite,
yeah.
there is a definite and specific process that you need to be looking at as to this amount of money comes from this account, this amount of money comes from another account. But just understand that from a year-to-year basis, that could change depending upon what your tax situation is, which circles us back to why do I spend so much time in the book talking about taxes? Why do I spend so much time in the book talking about what's the optimal amount to have inside of an IRA or a 401k when it becomes time to start taking your required minimum distribution? Well, because it matters. Because there's a certain
Details
order
matter.
to these things,
Yeah.
and the details are very important.
Okay, you've mentioned the book, so let's talk a little bit about the book that we have on set, Purpose Determines Placement, something that you started working on during the pandemic as the time allowed you to do that, but it's something that's been in your head. And a lot of the things that are in this book are things that you actually take out into the public, that are within workshops, things that you talk about on the radio. These are things that are accessible, but maybe somebody's just joining us right now and trying to find out some of these answers.
Yeah, that's basically what I wanted to try to do with the book, was just to compile everything that we do, Brad, into an easily digestible source of information so that people could just thumb through it and say, oh, okay, well, there's where we're at. We call it a guide to see you to and through retirement. We have the steps of retirement laid out by chapter, the things you need to think about. And then at the end of every chapter, we even put a little bit of a questionnaire in there to say, okay, here are 3 main takeaways from this. What did you get from that? So we get a lot of great compliments on it. It's never been a book that's for sale. People are like, oh, did you put it on Amazon? It's like, no, I didn't mess with any of that sort of stuff. It's like, this is our tool for you. It's our tool for the viewers of the television show. It's our tool for listeners of the radio shows on WTAQ or WHBY, people that attend our public events. We wrote this for those people so that we could say, okay, here is a source of information for you. Whether you're using us or not, there's nothing in here that is targeted towards you choosing Duell Financial Strategies as your advisory firm. This is targeted towards you learning. And then you do with the information what you please. If you feel like that we're a comfortable fit for you and we would be able to help you with that, so be it. Let's talk about that. I mean, that's why we're here. But you can get a copy of this book. Come in for your complimentary appointment. Take the book away. If we never see you again and we feel like you're going to be okay, I'm perfectly fine with that. You may come in for a first appointment. This happens more often than you might suspect, where somebody comes in for a first appointment, you bring all your stuff to us, we sit down and look at it, and we say, you're okay. You're going to be fine. And most of the times that's met with disbelief. People are like, well, there's got to be something. There's got to be something we need to do. No, really, you're tweak this, tweak that, maybe think about that a little bit. But, this is not broken. We don't need to fix it. That's, what's that old adage? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we face every person that we deal with. It comes in via this medium or whatever it happens to be. They say, look, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And if it's broken, we'll tell you it's broken. If it could be tweaked, we'll tell you it can be tweaked. But we're not going to make up some sort of we're not going to make up a condition to say, well, we're the only ones that could treat it. That's ridiculous. And you're smart. You know better than that. We're not going to play that game with you.
So no game playing. Let's answer the questions. Would you like a copy of the book? This one is free. Purpose Determines Placement. Where are you? And where are you on the individual plan? Do you need a little tweaking, or is everything okay? Most of the time the answers are, we need to tweak just a little bit, and it's your individual plan. So come in, set up an appointment, don't wait any longer, 866-203-7486. The call is free, the visit is free, the plan that we put together just for you is free, and the book is free, because we'd love to help you with your retirement. We'll be right back.
The first thing is that it's a very open, inviting, I don't want to use the cliche family atmosphere, but we want people to make financial decisions in a comfortable environment for them. That's always been our #1 goal.
And I think that's the thing that it makes it easier out here, is just they want to make sure that they can count on the plan that we've drawn up for them, and that there's a systematic way and approach that we're going to go about getting them through retirement.
we believe very much in doing business the old-fashioned way. I mean, we're quite conservative. We live our lives that way. So we insist on answering the phones, talking to people eye to eye. Handshake still means something with us. And then the second thing is we stress that you need to be a fit. We're going to spend a lot of years together getting you through your retirement and making sure that you're okay. So we believe very much that you need to understand that we have your back, and you need to understand that you have to be comfortable with us, but we have to be comfortable with you too. So it's not that we become selective, but we find that our clients, we believe, that come to us from television or from radio, or they've seen us speaking publicly, we believe that they've made a determination that we are a fit that they were looking for. I think Andy would tell you that we hear every day from people that come in, wow, I wish I would have met you, insert the blank, because this just feels right. So we believe very much in that.
Always so thrilled you're with us. Thanks for joining us, giving us your time so that we might be able to help you with your retirement. Sam and Andy are here. Brad Johansen with you. Always glad to be going through another process that takes you to your individual plan. This is a retirement red light challenge. We've gone through a few questions. This may take us a little bit in question 4, because this is kind of a stress test. Have you passed the stress test for your retirement? We start with continued increases in the cost of living. I'll go through the list and maybe we can get to them all. Market volatility, interest rate fluctuation, another recession, longevity, and unexpected loss. Let's start with the continued increases in the cost of living. It's a stress test for a lot of us right now.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
How do you pass the stress test?
Well, you got to, with excess, basically, you've got to have, you have to have enough liquid assets within your retirement savings plan to be able to calculate that in. Now, Social Security usually is increased every year. It's like, I believe I read an article the other day, and I think he said that the predicted amount of cost of living adjustment for Social Security this year was going to be probably around 3.2 to 3.5%. So typically, your Social Security, once you begin taking that, will increase every year. And interestingly enough, Brad, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to start taking my Social Security. It's going to be $2,687 a month, and it's never going to be in more than that. No, it will increase as...
If you wait.
If you wait, but even after you start taking it.
Cost of living adjustment.
You'll see
cost
that
of living adjustment.
COLA. You'll see that acronym COLA.
Yeah.
That's what they do every year. So just because your Social Security starts at $2,600 a month, it's not always going to be there. But the cost of living increase in Social Security is not enough to keep up with what inflation does, because what typically happens...
It's a little bit laughable at times.
Yeah, and those of you that are on Social Security can vouch for me on this.
Yeah.
Every time you get a cost of living adjustment in Social Security, typically your Medicare premium just happens to go up the exact same amount as the Social Security increase. So,
okay, all right. We move to the market volatility, which a lot of people, depending on their desire for risk or appetite for risk, are in the market, and it's about as volatile as we've seen in a long time right now.
I think a great place to start would be to go to our website. duellstrategies.com. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a little tab that says, what's your risk number? That is a really fantastic place to start. It's the foundation for a program called 𝗥𝗲𝗚. And what that'll do is it'll give you a number between 1 and 99, tell you how far up and down the scale you are as far as risk aversion is concerned. But that's a wonderful place where you can go, okay, because we can turn around and plug in your accounts on the back side of that and really see if you're lined up. So many people we find, unfortunately, when they come to us, if they're working with another advisor even possibly, there is a disconnect between what the advisor's definition of conservative, moderate, or aggressive and what the client's definition of conservative, moderate, or aggressive are. And that oftentimes gets people into a little bit of hot water.
Okay.
And sometimes a lot of hot water.
well, because they don't know. And therein lies the challenge across the industry, is that not only is there a disconnect between what most consumers consider it to be versus what an advisor will consider it to be, then we've got a complete disconnect across the advisory world, where one advisor will define moderate different than another advisor will. That's why we went to this 𝗥𝗲𝗚, very extraordinarily advanced software based primarily in psychology. But we find, and maybe I'm saying we in the wrong context here. I'm a visual learner. I learn by seeing. I learn by hands-on. I learn by doing. So for me to be able to visualize something, I'll learn it much faster. But I've also found that the great majority of people are also visual learners. Most people cannot just read a book and get all of the information out of it. They need to see an example of it. So what Riskalyze does is it allows us to approach you and say, look, on a scale of 1 to 99, you're a 57. So what does 57 mean? Well, on a scale of 1 to 99, it's kind of falling right in the middle. So you would be moderate, maybe a fuzz moderate to balanced. But because of the complexity of programs like this, they can take every investment that there is on the face of the planet. If you own a mutual fund, if you own a stock, if you own a bond, if you own anything, if you own a variable annuity, if you own a fixed annuity, those all have a risk value assigned to them. So we can input your current portfolio. You test it at a 57, all of a sudden we find out that your current portfolio is a 76. Well, what do? Well, you either got to change it. Something's got to change here. Either that portfolio's got to change or you got to change, or there's always going to be a disconnect. But we get so many compliments from people on Riskalyze, and the compliment we always get is, I've never seen this before. This is so helpful to me to be able to actually see it and visualize it and say, oh, and I can't tell you how many times a week when I'm doing Riskalyze analysis for people that have come in from television or from radio that will say, boy, I wish I would have had this tool 15 years ago.
Education is a powerful thing.
And that's all it is.
And
It's
that's
just
all it is.
That's the beauty of it. If it's not a sales tool, it's just education so that you can go,
that's
that's why I feel the way I do.
Exactly.
That's the reason. Okay, what do we do now?
Change.
All right, we're going through the stress test. We got interest rate fluctuation, another recession, but I think we probably ought to get to longevity because we're dealing with people who are living a lot longer right now. And
Yes.
I can even use my family as an example. I lost my dad at 71, which is 25 years ago. My mom's still with us, and just this week celebrated 95 years on this planet. And
Wow.
she couldn't talk to me very long because she was still going to exercise class.
Well, and I've seen pictures of your mother. She does not look 95 years old.
It's remarkable, but there are a lot of people in that situation. Am I going to outlive my money? right?
Absolutely.
It's a fair question. And the medical community's job is to keep us alive, no matter what. And so having some of your estate documents might be very pertinent because you can outline what your wishes are if you cannot communicate for yourself. So my grandma was 94 when she passed away, and she outlived my grandfather by a similar time frame. And so you have to have those documents in order so that you can essentially speak when you cannot speak for yourself. And that's something that takes some time and working with an attorney, but it's an important thing to really discuss. And then when you're talking about your retirement monies, how do you make sure that as a couple, you have what you need, but beyond that, what happens if one of you passes away? And so then your taxes are going to change. I mean, Sam talks all the time about taxes.
Yeah.
It is a huge change, and the taxes go up and your brackets get smaller as a single person. And so it's important that not only do we discuss what your income is while you are married, it's incredibly important to discuss what happens and where's the money going to come from, what things are going to change. Did you take your pension as a single person, or did you take it over a joint lifetime? That's a really important question to know and understand if you have a pension. You're going to lose one of the Social Securities. You're going to get the higher Social Security. So what's that going to change in your lifestyle if you're reducing your income by that other Social Security payment? So these are all parts of the process that are part of that puzzle that we talk about. There's a lot of pieces to it, and there's a lot of gotchas, and we have to discuss all of those things when we're going through that.
Yeah. Ignorance is not bliss anymore. Not when we're
It can be
talking
dangerous.
about retirement. I mean, it can be extremely dangerous. And just as we said, education is a really powerful tool. Just being able to go, aha, we can help you with that. The book that you see on the set, Purpose Determines Placement. This is what we're trying to help you with. That book is free. If you come in for a visit, that visit is free. And the plan that we're able to put together for you so that you're not ignorant anymore about where you stand, you have some aha moments, all of this is free because we'd like to team up together to make your retirement a little bit better. Are you worried about outliving your money? Are you worried about whether you have enough? Are you worried that you don't know the questions to ask? We can help with all of that. 866 𝗏𝗃-203-7486. Come in. Let's talk about your purpose. We'll be right back.
I started in banking and was always pretty good at saving myself. And I think people out here have a much greater savings mentality, and they don't tend to live beyond their means. They will, live in the same house, drive the same car for a long time. They are much more forward-thinking, but for the most part, it's a very different philosophy about saving money and being prepared for retirement. I got frustrated working at the banks because the banks would tell me what I could and couldn't do, and that was a big frustration for me, is being told that I couldn't use something that was more appropriate for my clients. And so I ended up leaving banking and going out as an independent salesperson, and then took quite a while to get enough gumption up to start my own gig. But I guess I just felt like somebody needed to be out there helping and protecting people, especially women, from advisors that were not as upstanding as they should have been.
Thanks for being with us on Your Retirement TV. Sam Duell, Andi 𝗥𝗲𝗟 from Duell Financial Services with me, Brad Johansen. Happy to be with you, and we appreciate your time. We're kind of going through a retirement red light challenge here. We're not going to get to them all because you need to be in for a plan to get through all of this. But I want to get to something that, Andi, you talked a little bit about. Our number 7 in this one is your will, trust, and or estate plan coordinated with a trusted advisor? And you kind of mentioned a living plan. Can you take me through that and whether or not people are in the red light mode or in the green light mode with this right now?
Oftentimes in the red light.
Most of them.
So things that will generally
85%.
trigger people to deal with these documents are aging parents. I think oftentimes I met with a gentleman not too long ago that was actually the power of attorney for a friend, someone that had basically adopted him kind of as family and didn't actually have family or didn't trust her family. I don't remember what the scenario was, but essentially he was in charge as a power of attorney for her medical and for her finances. And so this comes down to those things that we really don't always like to talk about or discuss as end-of-life things.
Because it's uncomfortable.
It is. We don't want to think about it. We just kind of sometimes want to bury our head in the sands. But those documents can be really powerful. God forbid you get into a car accident. You cannot communicate, or you cannot move, or you cannot talk. You've got to have documents that will talk on your behalf and tell the hospital, tell your family that your wishes for how to deal with these situations. Because, commonly, right, the husband has gone to work and he has the biggest basket of 401k or IRA money.
Okay.
That is an individual retirement account. It's his account, technically. And so if anything happens to him, for instance, and he can't talk or communicate, and you've got to pull money out of it, and you don't have a power of attorney for financial, then nobody's going to give that money to you.
You've seen this happen?
Yes, unfortunately.
You'll get forced to probate in order to
so you got to hire an attorney, you got to go to probate court, and you got to be the guardian.
Which costs you more money.
Which costs you more money,
And the big thing with that is time. In most cases, it's time. It's like the court schedules are just packed. So we think it's so important with estate planning. We have several different estate planning attorneys in both the Appleton and Green Bay area that we refer out to if people don't have their own attorney for this. I would tell you, if you do not have your estate planning documents, especially those living documents like a power of attorney for finance and a power of attorney for medical care, if you don't have those in place, many times we will send you back out to an attorney before we ever even start talking about your financial plan. Because you could build the most beautiful financial plan there is on the face of the planet. It could be flawless. But one misstep in estate planning and all of that planning you went through for finances is going to be completely blown up. We also thought it was so important that I devoted the entire last chapter of the book, Purpose Determines Placement, to estate planning, Brad. So when they pick up a copy of the book when they come in, any questions that you've ever had about estate planning, it's probably in there. And I will also say that one of the leading estate planning attorneys in the Fox Valley area coordinated with me in writing that chapter. He wrote more of it than I did. So that chapter is not coming from layman's terms of what we look at it. That's actually coming from an estate planning attorney that helped me write that chapter.
I mean, this is the teamwork thing, and you don't even have to address it because what you've addressed is, does your advisor evaluate your risk tolerance each year and adjust your portfolio accordingly? And all of this fits into exactly what you do.
Yeah.
coming in and assessing everything because every plan is individual.
And then define the word risk tolerance, because not having the estate plan correct, that's a risk. You know, you don't think about it like that because everybody says, oh, okay, you have a risk. Oh, it's a stock market. What do we need to do? No. If you've got $1 million IRA and you've never set up a living document for that for a power of attorney, and as Andy said, if you're the husband and now all of a sudden you get hit in the head by a golf ball and you can't make your decisions anymore, by not putting together that very simple document, you have now forced your spouse to go through an arduous, expensive, and long court process just to take care of the man that she's been married to for the last 45 years. So not doing the proper type of a planning, in our opinion, is just as big a risk and should be incorporated into your risk tolerance no differently than anything else.
Sorry, I sighed because I wanted to get to one of your questions. We appreciate you watching, listening to the radio programs as well, and writing into the question. We'll get to one. John says, an IRA is being willed to me. If I inherit it before the age of 59 and a half, can I send it directly to my own IRA? And what are the tax implications of that, very quickly?
Yeah, real quick, because we only got less than a minute here. So, John, if you are not the primary beneficiary of this IRA, in other words, if you are a non-spouse beneficiary of it, no, you cannot send it into your own IRA. Only a spouse of the IRA holder can do that. You will have to open an inherited IRA. You will have to deposit it there. Now, pre-59 and a half, if you inherit it, you can withdraw money from it without there being any early withdrawal penalties on that. There's a special notation for that. You will be taxed on it, and you will be taxed at whatever ordinary income level that you have right now. And one other quick note, because of legislative changes that have happened over the last couple of sessions in 2019 and then again in 2022, if you are a non-spouse beneficiary of an IRA, you have to have that account liquidated and removed entirely within 10 years. So another little nuance in there. It's in the book. We talk a lot about it, but if people want to know more, they should come in and visit.
You guys have done so much to help us through this red light challenge, but there's so much more to go, and a visit is probably the best thing for you. Don't waste any more time. 866-203-7486. The book is free. The visit is free. And a plan to help you with your retirement is free. We're grateful for you. Thanks for being with us. Until next time, enjoy your day. Plan for your purpose.